good sis.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Sing it.
And
I'm
I
proud
want
of
to
the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Dude, hella choice with the reverb, Steve.
Yeah, nice job, dude.
That's it.
Beautiful.
We are here with the incredible, vivacious, beautiful Ruthie Brozik and Sarah Corbett. We've been friends for a very long time. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the How Good's This podcast. We put up the American flag because we guys know that you are two distinct patriots.
Yes.
Ruthie goes quiet. We wanted to have you guys on this because for a few reasons. One, you're both therapists. Now, you've massaged for, come on, 10 years?
19?
19 years.
14.
I'm still yet to get one from either of you.
Ha!
Oh, dude.
Too late.
It's
That's what I heard.
Retired.
I haven't even. I know. Can't even ask anymore.
You
I'll give you
you
5
retired,
undies.
Sarah?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, good on you. And I want to touch a little bit on that because I personally, with music, feel like sometimes I'm more of a therapist than I am like a entertainer. I'm attempting to try and kind of make people disappear, relieve them of stress and pain, and many of the times when I was living in Chihuahua, we met in Chihuahua. Sarah and Ruth, we met in Chihuahua, and I would come in after a tour, and you wonderful creatures would just let me mouth vomit like diarrhea mouth words all over you for like 3 hours. It's like,
It's messy.
and then this happened, and then this happened, and all the while you were just kind of getting all of this out of me. 2 questions. One, how often does that happen where you have to actually play a verbal therapist versus a physical therapist?
I would say at about 80% of the time.
Yeah.
80% of the time.
I prefer to not talk at all.
Yeah.
Do you prefer
There
people
are
like
Julians in our life too.
I prefer people to, either is fine, but you get a better massage if you're being quiet when you're laying on the table.
Tell me if I'd get a good massage, because I don't want to talk and I just want to be tickled. I literally don't want hard or anything. Like just
You would hate
just
a
like pet
massage
me.
from us.
Yeah, you wouldn't like it.
Well, you could go
Yeah.
soft.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, would you prefer? Would you be like, yeah, this is awesome. I don't have to really like use my fingertips
Yeah.
hard. You just go soft.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that, or just no, or call me a?
Oh, yeah,
Fucking wussy
absolutely.
boy.
If it's easy.
I would prefer that people just said what they wanted
Yeah.
instead of laying there and hating every minute of it and then leaving
Yes.
and going, I'll never go back
Yeah,
there. That was
person
terrible.
was terrible.
Yeah, and then you get a Yelp review from it. You're
Yeah.
like, what? They took 8 of my mints. How can they leave a 2-star and take
left
16
all
Jolly Ranchers? Those stinky little boobies. I don't like them. So I've always wondered this, because you're both, you're not gigantic human beings, right? You're very compact. I'm 6'1". Julian's 5'4", I think. But you're strong, super strong. And is it leverage? Are you in the garage doing these ones? Like, are you throwing the Kirby Puckets? Like, how do you keep that hand strength?
It's conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I haven't been working much at all. So if I were to go back at it, it would be weeks of probably having headaches and thumb aches and joint pain. Like,
That's why you're not doing it for me.
yeah.
That's okay.
No,
No, I'm just too lazy and I want to travel. So.
Yeah. So
You're
you guys
doing
just got back from the old Kirkies, and you both travel quite a bit. Sarah, you have a RV. You and your husband Paul, one of my best buds in the world. You guys travel like youngsters. You had kids really young, and now you're like in the salad days,
Yeah.
cruising around.
Yeah. We're getting ready to take off on Sunday, and we don't know for how long, but at least till Thanksgiving.
Did you sell your house?
We sold our house. Well, it hasn't sold, but we have a contract on it. So
And
hopefully,
where you how long are you leaving for?
this time we're going to be going probably till Thanksgiving, but if we're having a good time, we don't have to be back. So
That is the coolest feeling.
yeah,
That's
it's
so
it's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been in your casita. That thing is
Who
real.
hasn't been in that casita?
Yeah.
If you haven't, you want to.
I feel like things were invented in there. Like it's quite compact. You grew up? The second reason why I wanted to guys have you on the show, not only so we could just have an excuse to like drink Perrier and some Heinies and tell fart jokes, but you guys have an extremely interesting upbringing. You came from California, you and your folks, and 13 siblings. Am I right?
11.
At that point, there were 10 siblings in the van.
10 siblings in a van, like a 40 Econoline or something.
Yeah.
And your folks packed you up and moved to Colville,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is north of here about an hour and a half, right? Is that area?
Yeah.
Give us the rundown. What was the idea? Why did we do it? Why did you guys get in that van and move that way?
Well, our story is that our parents had some kids that were mid-teens and were starting to get into the drug scene and down in San Diego. So, and then some other financial things. And my parents decided, hey, we're going to pack up the kids, get a year's leave of absence from the school district, and just travel, try to find a place we want to live that's not urban. And so we did. We left in August and headed north. It rained every single day. We decided to drive south till we got to Sunshine, and we ended up all getting the flu in Spokane. And my dad
Yeah, 'cause-
didn't for some reason, and so he just started looking for property, and he found 20 acres on the side of a mountain way out of Colville, and he fell in love, and we ended up there.
Hold on. All right. So to understand your guys' story well, we have to understand the type of people that your parents are, because in order to have 13 children, you got to be some type of human.
Catholic.
Yeah.
So
Catholic, very
They're
Catholic.
Catholic.
where you
Yeah.
guys fall?
I'm number 9.
And I'm 11 of 13.
Do you even know who you our siblings are? Like, did you?
How do you
get
keep
lost
track
in
of
that
them?
growing up? Like so, like
We
all right,
don't.
like were your parents young when they had kids? Did they when they started? Did they expect to have 13 kids? Were they like we're having a ton? What was that like? Have you talked to them about that?
Well, I think our mom was 24 when our oldest brother was born, which would have made Dad 28, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know
And
exactly, but
what is the impetus to keep having kids after 3, 4, 5, 6?
Catholic.
There was no impetus.
Julian might not understand when you say Catholic.
Oh,
So
yeah,
the
break it down to the people.
Catholic ideology is the Lord opens and closes the womb according to His will, meaning no condoms, no birth
Yeah, no
control,
contraceptives.
no contraceptives whatsoever. If God wants you to have 52 kids, then the woman bears the brunt of that situation and has 52 kids. And that's like, well, Catholics are that way. The Mormon religion is that way. Like more secular. What's the word I'm looking for? Newer age models of Christianity. They're not
Yeah.
too much strained on that, but definitely Catholics are all
Like our
about.
family was probably the end of that big, huge Catholic family thing.
Yeah.
You don't often meet Catholics anymore that have huge families.
So then it's safe to assume that you all grew up in a religious family that values
No,
were.
I wouldn't say that. They got excommunicated when I was 3.
Yeah,
So,
before I was born,
So Sarah
so-
wasn't even born.
yeah.
Question about that. If you get excommunicated from a religion, how do they communicate to you that you got excommunicated?
Well, the story I heard is the priest just basically told him, "Don't come back. We don't have the answers you're looking for," and that was it.
Dude, if only they were that honest to everybody who went to
Right?
service. Like, listen, I would go. I would go to service much more frequently if people were just like, look, dude, the potato salad is tight, but other than that, we have no answers. Because the potato salad's usually tight. He's a heathen. He's never been to church, so
Yeah,
Jeez,
I just
Julian.
I went to church when I was a kid, but I just ate the donuts and drank the hot chocolate. I didn't listen to shit. It was Catholic church too. I'm not by my favorite people here.
Okay, so you pack up in your Ford Econoline. Your dad chain smoking Pall Malls all the way up the California Western Coast. You end up in Spokane. Everybody gets early onset cocoa, and he goes find some land and decides this is where we're going. We're moving everybody up here.
Well, he let us vote. He
Oh,
took us
really?
all up there. We're all like 3 days into the flu, and he goes, "So, what do you think?" It's like, we can vote to stay or go, and we're all so sick of being wet and packed in this van. It's like, we love it. Let's
Yeah.
stay.
Oh, dude, Democratic. That's not very Catholic.
Well,
You
they'd
had
been out for a while.
excommunicated. So like this doesn't even make any sense for me then, because if you're saying like we had 13 kids because we were Catholic, but then they got excommunicated, and then you're democratic about your
Here's the thing,
obviously
Julian. You can be
Catholicism-
excommunicated from the Catholic, but if you have been born and bred and raised Catholic,
You're gonna continue to
you are
base-
still in the deep thick
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, totally.
Uh-huh.
But you also were. You said you were 11, Sarah,
Yeah.
and so your folks were excommunicated when you were alive.
No,
when
before I was
3.
born.
Before you were
Yeah.
born, okay.
Yeah.
So you're up Colville, forest area. Your dad builds your family home.
Well, we all did.
You all did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it was the first of September when they bought the land, and he's like, "We got to build a cabin. We're gonna live here." So
Yeah.
And
First
we're
of
not going to
September.
use power tools.
we're not using power tools.
my
We're gonna do it.
We're going to do it like the pioneers.
Yeah, so we got a 2-man saw and an adze and an axe and draw knives for peeling
What's
logs.
what's the age difference happening between all the kids that are there doing this with you guys?
Let's see. Chrissy was 2. Mom was pregnant. Chrissy was 2, and David was
I was 9, so he was probably 20.
22 or 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was old enough to like actually. You
Yeah.
had kids in the family that were old enough to actually throw some muscle.
Oh, we all
Oh,
did.
we
We
all
all
did.
Yeah, I
We had
remember
to, yeah.
peeling logs with these
Scraping
knives.
the pulp off
and-
at the butcher
yeah.
knives.
At 9?
I was 5.
5.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Get to work.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So 30 days, we got the cabin assembled and roof on and doors and windows in, and it started snowing that year on the 30th. The day we
So
were moving out of
magical.
our tents in the van into the cabin, it started snowing.
When you look back on that period of your life, how does it make you feel?
For me, being 5 was like a camp trip, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't see
These are
the hassle of it all that it must have been for my parents.
These are like some of your first memories that you're even developing, right? Yeah. What a trip.
Was it were you guys pretty close already as a family at that point, or did that like just suck you in? Especially it was what, a 1-bedroom cabin, like just one room?
20 by 20.
Oh my god.
It had a loft.
It had a
Sarah.
loft. Yes, we were fancy.
Where was your dad's headspace with all of that? And like you guys were just probably listening to him and doing kind of as you were told, right? Or what was that? What was that?
My mom was pretty headstrong, so it was a family thing.
Yeah.
And it was just something that had to get done, and we knew it was expected of us to help.
But was it like a financial thing where it was like, oh, we don't have enough money to get buy a house? It sounded like your dad like didn't want to get tools, didn't want to do this. Like, what was his
He
reasoning?
had a romantic notion of wilderness life, and he really wanted to build a cabin in the woods and live in the woods like the pioneers.
Wow.
And we don't know if our mom shared that dream or not, but you'd have to ask our brother David. He might know better. But
Yeah.
he really wanted to do that. And so this was his chance, and we did it.
I would imagine that the character building that must have came out of that experience, though. Granted, back in those days, nowadays kids are like video games and iPads and 12 Jolly Ranchers from you guys' massage studio. Like, I feel personally, I'm in my 30s, I feel so soft. I feel like I have not interacted at all with hardship. Like, I'm so quick to just complain and navel gaze, as my dad would call it, like, kind of looking. And I think it's because I haven't received any legitimate hardship. I don't know what it's like to kill my own food and prepare it. I don't know what it's like to build my own shelter or live out in the elements for more than 3 hours. And I would imagine that experience gave you guys some amount of character, even though you were probably pretty young. What do you think it taught you if you were to look back at it?
It gave me appreciation for light switches on the wall and a flush
toilets.
toilet in
Yeah.
the house.
Running water.
Running warm water. Yeah.
Did you have any of those things in that cabin?
We had running, not the first winter, we had running cold water. After that, we never did have
But
running
wait. The cold water was only from about April to October, and then it froze, and then you had to
we had
bucket
to
it.
bucket water from the
5-gallon
creek.
buckets from the creek.
Yeah.
How far away was the creek? Was that a hike?
Well, it seemed like 10 miles,
yeah.
but it was probably like
Few
500 yards.
Yeah.
Were you ever? This is all you knew, so you didn't have any real reference for what else was.
Well,
right?
I knew because I was
Were
9.
you guys, were you guys
Yeah.
going to school and stuff?
The first year we lived there, we didn't go to school. Dad was going to homeschool us.
Well, what's that like about?
Turned out.
I
how did
learned
that-
how to spell thermometer
I can't do that.
in a year.
That's what you learned that year.
Yeah.
Hold on. Do it. Spell it.
THERM. Fuck. OT. I don't fucking know. Dude.
That's not right. That's not right.
Not right. Can you go? Can you help us, Ruth?
OMET.
THERMOMETER.
That's not like it's just
Thermometer.
phonetic. It just is thermometer.
Then why couldn't you do it,
Because I
Julia?
fucking was thinking in my brain. You spent a year learning how to write fucking
I was
thermometer.
9.
She was.
Well, I'm 34 and I'm fucking dumb. All right.
So, how long did you guys live there forever? Like until you left the home,
We lived out there about 11 years
and then
total.
and then moved. Did you?
Yeah, mom finally was done. She's like, "We're out of here. I'm leaving. We're going to town."
Did you sell the cabin?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't keep it in the family. Is the cabin still there? Can we go get
yes.
some B-roll footage of the cabin?
You could. It's pretty much a pack rat motel now, but it's still standing.
Okay, so you didn't have running water. Did you have a toilet?
An
No.
outhouse.
No, you had an outhouse.
Yes.
God, that's epic.
And then the famous
Walk us.
slot bucket.
Can you just walk us through like a day in the life of your childhood in those days when you weren't going to school? Like, what were you waking up and doing?
Sledding.
Yes, sledding.
'Cause it was
That first
always
winter
snowing.
was all about sledding, and coming from Southern California, it was like, wow, this is great. Yeah, we got tons of snow that first winter. Granted, I was only 5, but there was like 7 or 8 feet of
was a
snow.
lot.
Oh my
it was a
God.
lot. And we
One
were
of those
having
winters.
having to get firewood. And I remember that, having to get firewood with this big sled my dad built. And he was like, make sure you stay on the sled, Sarah, because if you fall off, I don't want to lose you underneath the snow. So that was my job, is to hold on to the sled.
Jesus, I don't remember that.
So, and this, you may not be able to know this because I would imagine, how old were you when your folks passed?
I was 22, 23 when my dad died.
Okay.
And then 33 when mom died.
So there's a chance you may not know this, but like, as you have an amount of, I have one child. You guys obviously know Rudy. I am like him going anywhere without me or Taz watching him. Now, granted, Taz would tell you otherwise. She's like, you let him go out on, but the more kids you have, is it just like, well, they'll find their way home? It's like the your adopted dog that you're like, I'm sure he'll find his way home. He'll be fine.
That's
Is it
right.
kind of that way? The more kids you have,
From what we understand, like our older siblings look at the mother and father we had, and
Right.
they're like, that was not mom and dad. Like they were very strict. And you were home at 6, and by the time we came along, it's like that Monty Python where she gives birth in the kitchen, like, can you get that one, dear? it's like, okay.
Did you all have different rules for yourselves as people? Like, there's such a different, like, such an age gap between the 1st to the 13th. So was there just like different tasks that you were put to do, or different like responsibilities that you had as youngsters, or like how did your parents just delegate you guys as people to do stuff and to
Not
keep
very
track
well.
of you?
Not very well, because we complained
We were
about everything.
bitching.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the dishes. Okay, I'll just do it.
How do you do the dishes in a place like that?
You heat water on the stove,
Yep.
and then you pour it in a bucket and you soap. Like the
Sarah-
pioneers.
Sarah,
It's like camping. It was like camping in a cabin. Yeah.
you keep a super tidy home. You do too, Ruth. I haven't spent as much time at your home as I have at Sarah's, but having to live with 12 grown men in a tour bus, when I get home, and Taz would tell you the same thing, I'm anal. And like anything left out, I'm just like, it has to be perfect. And I think that comes from the amount of control I don't have living with like 15 people. It's just like living with that many people in a confined space. Everything's going to be messy all the time. Mm-hmm. Is that, did you contract that same anal retentive disease that I have?
Yes.
From that situation?
Yeah, I know it happened to me because we all slept in this, we started with the 20 by 20 cabin, then we built an addition, which I don't know how big that was, but
12 by 16.
12 by 16. So we all moved into the loft of that, the kids, and there were 7 of us sleeping up there at that time, and we had little foam pads with our sleeping bags on it, but it would just become this disgusting mess up there with, we had wood heat, so that generates a lot of dust, and so I would spend all Saturdays and Sundays sometimes just cleaning that up just to have a little bit of order and control. So yeah, I totally do that in my life now. Like everything has a spot, I want it in it.
Yeah.
If my house is clean, I'm fine.
Seriously, I think, listen, clean house, clean mind. I think it's a reflection for sure. Granted, it's not mutually exclusive. I think there's plenty of people who are peaceful folk who aren't as tidy as I am or as you are, but I definitely think it's a reflection. So you live in this space. How did your older siblings live there for 11 years, or did they like graduate and leave town, and then the space got a little bigger because less folk were in it?
Yeah, that was kind of an organic process. Like the older 2 who were in their 20s, they decided they didn't like this, and they went back to San Diego. And then
right away,
like
the
that
cabin was
winter.
finished. Dad and David came to blows over building the cabin because my dad's like, that's good enough, we got to get in, and David's a perfectionist, so there was some conflict over that, and I think David hit the road right away as soon as we were all situated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then our sister Jeannie never lived there. She was 17 when we left California, and we left her there. She didn't want to come and be a part of this, so she stayed behind.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, when I started getting into my teens and like going through puberty, I started exploring new things, my sexuality, drugs, alcohol, all those interesting things. Did you guys have access to that? Did you guys know what any of that stuff was? Were you guys how were you guys developing as people going in through puberty and exploring your own selves as people?
We can't bring a boy home to that.
No.
It's like 7 your older
And
brothers
you
in the same.
want to. It was too humiliating.
Yeah, no privacy whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
So and any little bit of anything you tried to express about having a crush or anything, you'd get tormented by
Did
everybody
you have
else.
them even? Or
Oh heck yeah, but they were private and.
Yeah, you only did that once, and then you got ripped to shreds.
Did you journal a lot? Like, how did you
Yeah.
keep secrets?
That's what I did.
You
I
wrote?
write a journal. Yeah.
you too, Ruth?
No, I just sucked it up and
You
You just
go to
suppressed
therapy.
it all.
You just buried it deep inside, and then you work it out on people's bodies when they're in your massage chair.
Yeah. Were you guys talking as siblings? Did you guys have relationships where you felt comfortable enough to tell each other those secrets, or was it just don't say shit to anybody, just
That's
keep
right.
it
Yeah.
to
Don't
yourself?
say shit to anybody.
Why? Because
But
I mean, I didn't do it to my brothers either. I wouldn't tell them shit then.
Well, there wasn't a lot of opportunity really to do any of that or anything, because during the school year you rode the bus to school and you rode at home. There was no extracurricular anything. The only time you got to go to town was maybe on the weekend if you were the lucky one and got to go and do the laundry at the laundromat on Saturday and maybe get to go to the grocery store. But besides that, for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 years we were there, that was our life. Because we couldn't drive, there were no extra cars, there was no way to do anything, and it was 20 miles out of town, so
Why
It was
no
very
extracurricular activities?
just say we couldn't
How
get,
would you
we
get
couldn't
home?
get to them. Yeah, it was
Oh.
either ride the bus or you stayed in town. So there was no way mom and dad could come get you from town.
How did you get supplies and groceries?
Saturday,
There was yeah.
one day a week,
What-
they would go to town and
How?
we had a car and
We had
go do all the laundry, do the shopping,
Gotcha.
and that was it.
Wow.
And our mom worked. And mom and dad had a deal when we got there that when the money ran out, one of them was going to go to work. And whoever could find a job making the most money would be the one who would go to work. And Mom found a job at the nursing home for like a dime more an hour than Dad could get working at the mill.
love
So she's
Ruth's
like,
just
see
little
you later, I'm out
fucking
of here.
scoffs in the corner.
But she must have been elated.
Oh, I think Mom was more than ready to get out. And plus, like, we had to get in so much wood just to make it through the winter that there were these chores that Mom probably couldn't have done. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was like 17 cords of wood we had to get in during the summer just to make it through the winter, you know. So, you know, there was some heavy lifting to do. And I think that it was more appropriate for Dad to stay home. So,
Yeah.
that's
Did
what
you look
happened.
up to your parents back in
Oh,
those days?
totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
We had the most stable. I mean, it was kind of a crazy experience that we were having, but Mom and Dad, there was never a doubt that they weren't going to be there, that we weren't going to have, I mean, we were always going to be fed. And
Oh,
it was
that's
just
awesome.
absolutely 100% stable. We saw him fight, I remember one time.
I remember once or twice. It's traumatic.
It was so traumatic because
Just once.
yeah, it was. So everything, of course, was made out of logs, and they would swell and shrink with the season. So it was springtime, I think, and everything was swelling up in front of the front door. The door would open, and the door would stick to the floor, and Mom was trying to get out to go to work, and it stuck to the floor on the wrong day. And she's like, John, if this fucking thing sticks to the floor when I get home, I'm leaving and never coming back. She screams this at Dad, and we're all like, Mom's never coming home. Dad pulls out the chainsaw and chops off the bottom of the door.
Like
He's like,
that high up.
yeah.
Oh,
like-
savage.
Yeah.
Wow.
We all scattered into the woods for the day. And we're like, Mom's never coming home. If she doesn't come back, what are we going to do?
And you were never afraid, or were you able to talk to them about their relationship and if it was always strong and tight? Because they stayed together through their whole life, right? Through the whole situation.
Yeah, I think it had its ups and downs like any
Sure.
relationship.
Yeah, but they stayed.
But like the whole Catholic thing, like my dad was very dominant early on because that's what you do. The men makes the decisions and everything. But towards the end, she was like trying to shed those shackles, and there were some not so good times with her asserting her independence, and Dad, who just was like the sweetest, easygoingest guy, was like, "Who are you?" You know, it got rough there at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he loved her like
Yeah.
more than anything. And it's like she wanted to leave Washington. She was like, I'm done with this shithole. I want to go to Albuquerque. I want to move out of here. And she's like, I'm leaving with or without you. So, which she knew this was Dad's.
World.
Yeah, he loved it here, the trees and all that. And she knew Albuquerque wouldn't be a good fit. But she's like, I don't care if you're coming or not, I'm leaving. So, you know, we knew it was kind of a struggle then, but he went.
Where did they both grow up?
Dad grew up outside of Minneapolis, right?
Well, in Waseca, Minnesota, which is
Yeah, okay. And Mom was
one
in
of the cities.
Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Omaha? No.
No, oh, great. Now you put me on the spot. I can't think of it.
That's all right. What and why San Diego? Was your father in the Navy?
They were both in the Air Force. That's where they met, but that's not why they ended up in San Diego.
I mean, San Diego's tight. I would go to San Diego.
Yeah. I don't
I'm
know
not sure
why.
how they ended up in San Diego, but they got married in the service and then both got discharged, and so they were just traveling to see her parents in Nebraska. And it was so miserable, just the weather and then the whole scene, because they'd been out and had seen the world, and it was like, ugh. It's like, for one nickel, I'd move to California right now or something.
Yeah,
Pull the nickel
California.
out and boom.
California back in those days must have been epic. Like, there's portions of California now that I take it or leave it. But like, man, California back when I would imagine, what would that have been? The 40s,
In the
50s?
50s.
In the
Yeah, the
50s must have been
50s.
so sick.
Mm-hmm.
Cruising over, especially if you're from Wisconsin or like the middle of America,
Yeah.
you cruise over, you see like the coastline coming up from LA to San Diego, or like where Steve's from, Santa Barbara. That must have been like, I can't believe this is America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's even too coming to Washington, like you go to from like Seattle and the coast over to the middle of Washington, which is like a completely different plane and vibe and look. And then you get over to this side of the state as well, and you got Idaho and Coeur d'Alene. You're hop, skip, and a jump from Montana. And then you go to like the Dakotas, or you go to some of the like middle of America. God bless anybody who's from those parts of the world who's listening to this, but it's vastly different. It's just a different place. And man, seeing that must have been epic. It's being Lewis and Clark cruising over, just like, yeah, man, seeing all the shit that those cats must have seen, or
I know.
or probably the people who were actually like doing the traveling saw before they like went back 3 miles to get Lewis and Clark and were like, hey, it's safe. You know, whatever that must have been was probably super epic. So, did you both graduate from the same high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Colville.
Did you go to school together?
I was 4 years ahead of her, so
Okay, so you didn't really
I didn't like
have-
Sarah till like, how old's Avery?
15
26.
minutes ago.
26
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Because you both had
Yeah.
kids close to the same age.
Yeah.
Growing up, Ruth and our brother John were really tight. And I was tight with my brother Tom. And so we kind of had these little, cliques in the family. So, I always admired Ruth and John, like they were so cool. And, we'd try to always listen in on their stuff and horn in on whatever they were doing. But they were always like, get out of here.
What kind of music were you listening to, Ruthie, at that time in high school? What was your vibe?
Oh, high school. Just the 80s crap. I still love it. Like
We were-
Cyndi Lauper and Madonna. And
She's a huge Elton John
Elton
fan.
John.
Oh, we were trying to, me and Julian, on the drive over here, because we like to sing a song for our guests, when they
ended up
come in.
singing that
And
one.
we ended up singing Proud to Be an American. Great choice. But we were like, I guarantee they love some 80s. Weren't you into The Cure, Sarah,
Oh,
growing
yeah.
up?
And Depeche Mode.
Depeche
and all
Mode,
that.
yeah, that was the
yeah.
vibe. Did you were you goth?
No.
Not at all.
I had big curly, long permed hair.
Big
and-
titties.
Yeah, did you have big old
Yeah.
bangs?
Oh yeah, the kind that were
Yeah.
stood way up like that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, looking
Awesome.
Dude.
looking like Rip Curl, the
People talk a lot
logo.
of shit about the 80s. Would you guys also talk shit about the
I
80s?
mean, it
or think
wasn't
they're
a good
great?
decade, but I love it because it was my decade.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
not good about it, you
It's
reckon?
just like you look at it now and it's like, oh.
It's just
Bad
fucking
taste.
fucking-
Curl
fucking-
hair.
Just looked bad.
It
but
looked
the-
bad.
Doesn't everything feel that way? Nostalgia? Except I feel like anything like younger than 40 years away always feels just like, ugh.
That could be. Yeah.
I don't
To
know,
me-
I look at like decades and I'm like, oh, like 90s were, I don't know. 80s just have this bad rap.
Yeah, they
'cause it
seem
was just-
extra bad.
Yeah, it was just like,
Dude, what about the 2000s? Have you gone back and watched? There's a CNN documentary, right? They do like the
Oh, yeah, I
70s, the
saw that
80s,
one.
the 90s, the 2000s. Bro, it's like pretty much just a montage of Bill Gates jumping over chairs.
yeah.
And the shirts and the shit it's terrible. You look back at the 2000s, the 2010s. It's just gonna be all face tattoos. We're gonna look back on that and be like, "This
Where's
is
yours?
absurd." I've been thinking about getting one. If I got a face tattoo, what do you think? Where location should I get it? Anybody?
Chin.
Under
like
your
the
beard.
crack of your chin.
Right here.
Up top,
Yes,
right in the middle?
Right here,
I should just get the. Oh man, what was the mass murderer guy that carved the swastika in his head? Anybody?
yeah.
Charlie Manson.
Yeah, Charlie Manson. Thanks. I wouldn't get that, but that was balls.
Yeah, don't.
All right.
I wouldn't
Bad
recommend
idea,
that.
jeans.
All right, let's
there.
get this goddamn conversation back on track, you scums. Look,
Jeez, please.
all right. I had a question about like the way that you guys talk about your childhood and your upbringing in this like retrospective way that's kind of just like funny and humorous and lighthearted. I can't imagine that's actually the truth. Was there a lot of, or was it? Was it just fun? And
No,
did you
it
guys
was
just
hard.
fully enjoy it? And because as you guys have been talking about, it's kind of just been like it was we had we didn't have a toilet like it was I fucking
It's
didn't
funny
have,
now.
I
It
didn't
wasn't
have any
funny
of that.
then.
But like so I guess the question I'm trying to ask is you are now full grown adults and you've had kids, you've raised full grown adults yourselves. What do you wish you knew then that you know now? If you could go back to those
To
times.
appreciate my parents more.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
and you didn't because why?
Because you're a kid. Kids
I don't think
do
anybody
not
ever does.
appreciate
Yeah.
their parents.
They make you do hard things. It's
Yeah.
like, ugh. Yeah.
And did that come
It's-
through having your own kids, or just for being an adult and understanding how difficult it is to survive?
I think having my own kids has really like cued me into just how awful kids can be in terms of unappreciative
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's not that we were bad. We were just being kids.
Right.
But you don't learn to respect what they were going through to stand in
Yeah.
there till you've had kids and go, oh,
Do you have a greater respect for them because you both have two kids? Do you have a greater respect for them thinking, man, 2 times 18, that's about how many kids were in my household? Does that come into your perspective when you think about them raising a family? It must.
Oh, absolutely.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
how
how
they did
they how they escape that with any sanity left. I don't, because the two I have are challenging and take everything you got. So yeah, and I don't know how they did it really.
well, I think we probably didn't get all we needed either.
Yeah.
Because there was so many people to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like food, shelter, and then emotional needs were way down there at the bottom.
Did your older siblings play that role ever in counselor, therapist, shoulder to lean on much?
Not for me, really. They did a lot for like caregiving, and they were so much older they could take care of us. But I didn't feel like we ever had any really emotional support.
No, Mom didn't have emotions.
Oh Jesus!
just-
Yes, she did.
You say mom didn't
Remember
have
the door
emotions.
incident? She was very angry.
Yeah, no, no, she did. Yeah, she just didn't. I don't know. I just don't think she had time to tend to that piece of herself very much. So
Yeah.
we didn't learn how to do much of that for ourselves.
Do you feel like
either
your
from
dad
her.
was more the emotional caregiver?
To me in my life, he was who was more tender and available that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You guys,
But he was there. Like Mom was gone because she was working. So
How many hours a week she work? 40?
probably at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would go to school and she'd still be sleeping, and then she'd be gone by the time we got home, and we'd be in bed before she got home. So we didn't see her a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was mostly Dad that was there cooking for us and, cleaning and forcing us to do the chores.
What did you cook on? Did you cook on like an open fire? Or is it like, you didn't have a toilet. You didn't have running water. Like, what did you cook? Did you have a microwave?
no, they have a
Come
microwave.
on, come on.
We were at least 5
Well,
miles
that
from
have a
oven was
Dyson.
kind of like a microwave.
Did you guys have a George Foreman up there at the cabin? Or?
We had a wood stove that would heat, right? And then we had a cook stove, like an old-fashioned cast iron cook stove with an oven and warming drawers and stuff. So we
But that would be heated by wood.
wood. Everything was wood. Yeah.
Wow.
And then during the summer when we couldn't burn fire because you didn't want to start a forest fire, we would cook. Dad would cook on just a camping stove, a Coleman camping stove.
Yeah. My mom cooked for us exclusively. My dad, I don't even know if he ever made a peanut butter jelly sandwich for me growing up. She had a few dishes. I remember chicken Alfredo. Oh man, my mom made a bomb chicken Alfredo. Still to this day, like I have such a soft spot for grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. What was like your pop's meal? What was the meal that your dad made you that now you look back at and you just still have a little twinkle in your eyes when you pass it in the old gross?
Well, we only had like 4 different meals because he quit cooking anything that we wouldn't all eat. So
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
the
Yeah.
few times he tried to make us eat something, this one here.
Didn't go well.
No, that shepherd's pie stuff, we called it hamburger pie.
Yeah.
One of the biggest traumas of my
And the
grown-
rest of us
Yeah,
watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Well, so I'd had this fight with my mom, which I don't know, some hissy fit. And so she left to work all upset. And Dad decided that the reason that I was having these emotional outbursts is because I didn't eat a proper diet. So he's like, we're starting tonight, and I'm making some hamburger pie, which is some mashed potatoes, green beans, and ground beef with some gravy on it.
Oh, I gotta get some DoorDash, get some of that in my mouth right now. That sounds tasty.
It wasn't.
Not with some canned green beans. Like, those were the most disgusting things in the world. So he's like, you're eating this. And I'm like, I'm not eating that. And he's like, if you want to do anything with the rest of your life, you're eating that. And I'm like, I'm not eating that. He literally, like, force-fed.
Held you down?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
tied you to the chair?
Yeah, I'm crying, and I'm going to barf. He's like, if you barf that up, you're eating it.
No.
Nuts.
So what were the 4 meals that he would rock, and were any of them good?
That did not make the list.
No.
No, the shepherd's pie got tossed out quick.
He made Spanish rice the next night, which was equally horrendous. It
No,
was-
not nice, Julian.
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
No, it was,
So,
now what?
That
now-
was the end of the trying to make us eat anything beyond the 4 dishes. So it was spaghetti.
cheese.
Oh yeah, grilled cheese.
With Nancy Reagan cheese.
Yeah.
Commodities.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, some of that American singles.
And
Spaghetti.
spaghetti. And if it was a day he went to town to get groceries, he'd bring back hot dogs and chili beans. Because we didn't have refrigeration.
Yeah, we didn't have any
so we had to eat all the
refrigeration, so-
spoiling stuff.
You didn't have refrigeration. See, this is what I was
No.
saying.
Yeah,
Like
we
this,
should probably describe this place a little
yeah,
better.
please give us the. You didn't have refrigeration. You didn't have a toilet. You told me when we went camping a few weeks ago. You're like, Al, I shat in a bucket until I was like 24 years old. I might be exaggerating that, but like you shat in a bucket
Not the
for a
bucket
long
part.
time.
Yes.
Same bucket,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had 2 buckets.
2 separate buckets.
Two iterations. The first one was a 3-gallon paint bucket.
Yeah.
White, round.
Uh huh.
The second one was a 4-gallon square bucket that our sister Jeannie, she came up to visit, and it was dark, and she went out. She just saw the first bucket and peed in it. It was actually like laundry soaking. She came back in and she goes, "You guys finally got a human-sized slop bucket." We're all looking at each other like, "What's she talking about?" That bucket out there. It's like, yes, now we can have this bucket that we can actually get off of, because the other one was short. This one was tall.
Oh, dude. So she christened the first bucket on accident. Oh, thank God for Jeannie.
I know, right? It was funny as
And
hell.
that was what, like a Tide, like powder bucket,
It
from
was
Costco.
another like painter's bucket, but it was square and 4 gallons instead of the round short 3. It was,
How was that like a career? Like how long of a career did those 2 buckets have?
Well, let's tell why we had it. So
Yeah.
we were 5 miles from the nearest electricity or anything. So we had to rely on ourselves for entertainment. So our dad would read to us every single night.
Yeah.
We'd sit down. He would read either what he was reading or something we had checked out from school. So he read everything. He read us this book called The Wolfen, and terrifying, right? These wolves that are smarter than people, and they're gonna try to kill you at every turn. So he reads us this book. He reads us The Shining, like all these scary things, and then we're like, "Dad, will you go to the outhouse with me? I'm too afraid." So he'd have to step out and go to the outhouse with us, all of us. And we never went at the same time. And so he got sick of that. So he's like, "We're going to have a bucket. You guys can just step out and use this." So that's where the slot bucket came from, because he'd read us these terrifying stories that
And
we didn't want to go to the outhouse anymore.
Was the outhouse like one of the plastic honey buckets that you see
no.
at Coachella, or it was like just a wooden box with a hole in the ground?
Yep, we dug a hole, and Dad built a little, just
shed
a little
roof outhouse.
Was there a
plywood.
seat on it, or were you just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
hovering above, hoping to aim and hit the hole?
Well, there was a seat, yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were pretty backwoodsy, but we had a
Yeah,
seat.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah, there-
God, we weren't.
we weren't animals, Alan. We ate spaghetti.
Yeah,
But we can't talk about the slot, but can I tell it, please?
sure.
Unless you want to tell it.
No, I'm not.
You have to
telling.
now.
This is
It's the best slot bucket story.
Please, come on.
This was the round version, not the square.
Okay, make sure you eat that mic so we can really get the
Oh, okay.
hear the ins and outs of the
Well,
slot
it's probably
bucket
not
story.
as funny to you guys as us, but so you just reach out the door and grab the slot bucket and put it into, and then go in the corner by the door.
Nobody look over here.
I'm going pee. Don't
taking
look.
a dump.
Would you face the corner like a dunce
No,
cap?
you put
or
your
you
butt to the corner.
send everything?
I mean,
look
modesty,
everything
for
up?
God's sake.
Right, of course. Sorry.
So Sarah thought it would be funny because she figured out inadvertently that if you pushed your butt down in the bucket and then pulled it back out, it'd make like a farting.
Yeah, dude, classic fart noises.
Farts are funny.
They're
Farts are funny.
hilarious.
Maybe
So
they're the best.
she started getting into it, like, and then all of a sudden she stopped because she created a suction.
I'm not laughing at the story. I'm laughing at Ruth.
I know. Same.
She didn't get on. She was stuck. So then it was like, oh my God, she's stuck. And my brother Paul came over.
Uses his foot with his big, gross, stinky, gnarly toenail.
Oh my God.
Broke the seals.
Broke the seal. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Please bookmark this. Make sure that we have know exactly where this story is. So you guys just picture Sarah with a bucket on the back of her ass, walking around like a turkey. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I bet you never made fart noises with a
Never.
bucket before.
No, so humiliated. Another trauma. That one's
Now,
right up there.
was this in the middle of the night? So you had to like
No.
wake everybody up
Oh no.
right in the middle of
It was
daytime.
the evening.
It's probably during dinner or something.
Right. Had too much shepherd's pie. You had to,
Yes.
I'm not eating that.
This is what I think of your spaghetti, Dad.
So, like, how is, in high school is such an interesting time of our lives. But I would imagine for girls, like middle school and high school is obviously it's a completely different experience for everybody, but specifically for females, I would imagine it's completely different than what I experienced. So you're saying like it was pretty hard to have friends over to our house. Like, what was your social life in high school and middle school? Was it like just your siblings pretty much? Or did you go to the bowling alley and find a bucket and do some suction noises?
Yeah.
Or
Sorry, Sarah.
That's a good story. I'm glad you told it because it's one of the classics. It comes up all the time. The only people that really ever came over were the other kids that lived on our road. Like I tried to invite a friend over one time, and it did happen. That's another good story. But it was just too mortifying because it was so weird. The way we lived seemed so outside the box. It was like
Were you allowed
we
to go
haven't.
to other kids' houses?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
if we wanted to, but
did that happen very
They
often?
might have shepherd's pie.
they might have shepherd's pie, so I can't go there.
Yeah, and they only
no.
got a 2-gallon bucket.
Exactly. I'm gonna plug up their toilet.
I need
if
at least
go
a
there.
4.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, man, I mean, I guess, we were talking, we interviewed our friend Jess Walter, and Sarah, Jess, Ruth, I'm not sure if you know Jess
I've
as
met
well.
him, but-
Yeah, legend of a human, but he got his eye poked out when he was young, and we were, as two-eyed human beings, we were like, man, what that must have been like is like insane. And he goes, well, I don't really have any other reference, so I don't know what it's like. I can't tell you like, oh, it was this and then this. And it must be that same way with this experience you guys had growing up in this
Exactly.
one-room
Yeah.
cabin where we're like, you didn't have Nickelodeon? What did you do?
Exactly.
At the same time, you both are like smart, emotionally available people who have like a sense of self way more than most people I know. So like, how does that happen? How do you get that when you don't have emotional support growing up, when you don't have like each other to kind of rely on, when you're just in a 20 by 20 with 166 people? Like, what's going on? How do you get there?
I don't think that was necessarily our childhood because I feel like we gained that by getting pulled into the Chihuahua community and that whole group of people.
A lot of self-help books.
Yes.
Well, you also both had kids really young.
Yeah, and having
You
kids.
too, Ruth?
Yeah.
Well, I was 24.
Okay, that's young. I'm 10 years older than that now, and I
Yeah,
would
Julian's
shit my pants if
44,
I had
and he
kids.
doesn't even have a
Yeah.
puppy.
Yeah. But
What-
you had a kid when you were 19
Yeah.
and 24, which is both ages are pretty young. That kind of
Yeah.
forced you into adulthood.
Yeah, for sure. Kids have a lot of needs and emotional needs.
But that doesn't necessarily make you become like emotionally available with yourself. It doesn't give you a sense of self, or does it? Does that like push you into kind of getting an understanding of who you are because of your need to create a human life?
Not for me.
No, it's been a process of
Must.
discovery. Yeah, both of our girls are, could have used a mother that could have been a little more tender and emotionally available, So I didn't figure it out yet.
How were you
but
supposed
I'm
to,
figuring,
though? Like,
I don't know.
What were you doing? What was it like having kids right away when you did, for both of you guys?
It's hard.
Yeah.
What was your
Really
where were you at in your life? Had you graduated high school? Were you like working jobs? Were you just broke? Destitute? Did you have support from anybody?
Yeah, I just graduated high school. Well, I'd been out almost 2 years, and Paul and I just ended up getting pregnant. So, well, let's just do this. And yeah, we were totally poor, making like $700 a month and try to make ends meet. And, I just stayed home. And it was just getting through it is kind of how it felt, like I didn't know what I was doing, So
Why did you even decide to do it then?
They were horny.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, but why
Yeah.
did you decide? I guess to keep it because it was just was it an option to not?
Not for me. It was. I didn't even consider not keeping it. Yeah, I was like, well,
Yeah.
this
But
is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
You had-
And
you
it gave me a path too. Like at that point, at 18, 19, you're like, what am I supposed to do with myself? I don't have any plans. I'm not, And then here it was like, oh, this is something for me to do. This is what I'll do. And
Yeah.
so,
I think about you and Paul a lot, Sarah, especially after I had my son, because I had Rudy late in life, and I had a lot of years to just fuck about and not answer to anything or anybody and have absolutely no self-discipline or responsibility. And I got to the point where I had a child and I was like, oh, like self-discipline is actually helpful for me in my life. And,
Right.
and I can actually achieve things and get things done and be proud of the work I'm doing because of self-discipline, and having a person to be self-disciplined for is helpful, right?
Yeah.
If you have another human being who relies on you, especially a baby, that teaches you a lot. And I think back on, I don't think back on it because I didn't know you guys back then, but I think about the age that you had kids at, and there's a portion of me that wonders, like, man, I wonder how, like, where I'd be if I would have had kids early, and how, I don't know, farther along is the right term, but what type of man I'd be. Because just now in my 30s, I'm learning the importance of self-discipline, and I'm learning the joys of working hard and setting goals and trying to achieve them. And I think that's because of my son. Like, I have something to work for now, whereas before it was just like working for myself. And myself, as narcissistic as I sound and seem, it's tough to work for yourself. You're just like, yeah, whatever. This video game needs beating, there's not really a question in there, but I wanted to express that because I'm not sure if I have expressed that to you before. That when you look back at having kids early, obviously your daughters are incredible. Your sons, Ruth, are amazing human beings. You did an incredible job on it. Having them early on accident, like having Avery as what some people would call an accident. It's not an accident because you'll practice, and you know what I'm saying? Bow, chicka, wow, wow. Do you look back on that and you're like, man, thank God, because that gave me a pivot point. That gave me like some direction in my life. Does that happen?
I feel like that because now Paul and I are in our mid-40s and we built all this infrastructure that's given us some equity to do what we're about to go do now, which is super exciting and super fun. Yeah, and if we'd just been out wandering around, not having much focus, who knows where we would have been.
Oh my God, I'm
Right.
thinking like when I have kids out of the house, I'm gonna be geriatric and have sunspots all over my arm and be like, I think I'll just play some golf. I'm not gonna have the same. I got all my willies out in my 20s, and I can't remember any of them.
Yeah.
But and just to add to that, like, I know what you're saying about being older, and it's a trade-off. Like, I would have been a way better mother if I had been in my 30s.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Because
Good point.
You've
Me
learned
too.
patience more. You maybe know yourself better, so it's not always just this reactionary crap that you get when you're 24 trying to deal with a newborn and you don't know what to do, and
Wow,
you're just
yeah.
frustrated and tired and scared all the time.
Yeah.
And potentially broke. That was the one thing
Yeah,
about like
broke.
choosing to have like I got to choose when I had a child. Thankfully, definitely some scares there, but we intentionally had a baby, and I was relatively financially secure. Which, if you dive deep into anything, there's no security in anything.
Yeah.
But I felt financially secure, and I would imagine, there's so many integers that I'm not thinking about. So when I'm a parent, I hearken back to how I was raised and how I interacted with my folks and the things that seemed to work for me when I was a kid. What portions, and then there's also things I'm just like, I'm never going to do that.
Right.
Like, that's not going to happen. What portions of your childhood experience up in that cabin out in Narnia do you like look back and you brought to the table when raising your daughters? Did you do any of that intentionally, or did it just kind of happen? Were there things that you were like the slop bucket? We're definitely using a 6-gallon. That's not, we're not gonna be a hole in the ground. We're gonna get like, what were those things that you were able to take from the way you were raised? And then
I think the biggest thing I got or did was I just wasn't so like rules driven. It was more like personal responsibility, because our
Yeah.
parents were always that way.
Yeah.
It's like, Mom, can I go shoot heroin? Well, sure you can, but this and this and this might happen, but it's your decision.
Yeah.
It's like, no, what? Just tell
that's
me
what your
to do.
folks were like, or that's
Yeah,
what
that's
you
what
were
they
like?
were like.
Ah.
By the time we came to us, that's the way they were. It was like, you get to make your decision. These are the consequences, and you can decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like maybe don't shoot first. Maybe like get a straw. No,
They
just
did say that, but they said, but it's your decision.
It's like, it feels like it's like maybe the senior year of no. And so you were a little less regimented in, or
As long as they were like, weren't playing with butcher knives or something. It's like they're just kids. They're just going to do their thing. They don't have to, be lorded over every
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, we both did that. We raised our kids together. Is what happened. We ended up on the same piece of property in Addy, Washington.
By your dad's old church.
Yeah,
right
by
at
your
the
dad's
back of
old
my
church,
dad's
yeah.
church, which
Yeah.
when Paul was on the cast, we were talking about how strange it is that we never met. I never met any of your kids that I remember, and we were this close to each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
I know.
That's so bonkers. We were having dinner with some friends last night. We're talking about the delicacy of where life brings you when it brings you there. Like, Sarah, we met Paul from the coffee shop, and we were living out in the middle of nowhere in Chihuahua, and Taz was out there, and she just had the minerals to like go to some random place in town. And that connection sparked, like, we've learned so much from you guys. We've brought so many lessons from your marriage into our marriage, and your daughters are close friends of ours. And it's like, it could have been, it was that fragile that like they would have just been like, I'm just going to go to this other place. I'm going to go to safe. I'm going to make my own coffee. Why am I going to pay for, like, me and Julian's friendship, the same thing. There's like these connections in this web that we cultivate in life is so delicate, and it's based upon these like minor choices that, wow, it's fun to think about sometimes, but scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like what didn't you do?
What didn't I
Yeah.
do? Wow, I could have been president. God, that would suck. Thank you guys so much for sharing your experience, for letting us in a little bit. I think the world of both of you ladies. Like, you're beyond fun to hang out with. You are incredible friends, and I think the world of you. Thank you so much. When are you guys writing your book, by the way? I've heard rumors about the. Also, too, I wanted to know what's your maiden name?
Brozik.
Brozik is your maiden name. Okay, so when are we writing the family tale of the Brozik enterprise?
Well, maybe soon.
Maybe soon. If there's any ghostwriters out there talking about ghostwriters out here,
Don't you know Jess Walter?
You said you were going to write a book last time.
last time we were hanging out. Now we had a few tequilas, but
I said it could be a possibility.
well, we hope you do, man. That's a great story that should be
You're
told.
both retired.
Well, I'm not retired.
Write a goddamn book, Ruth.
Yeah,
It's in
Ruth.
you. It's there.
It's just so easy.
I know, but you got it. You have to. You have to tell this story far beyond where we've just touched.
We'd be thrilled to hear about it, and there also might be a little second chance at promoting to our 340 fans that are watching this podcast.
Wow.
Sell some books, dude.
Watch yourself.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ruth, so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks
you guys
for
are
having
legends.
us.
Thanks for
We
having
love
us.
you.
Yeah, I love
Thanks
you
for
guys
listening,
too.
guys.
Bye.
'Cause I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Love this land. God bless the USA. Oh, boo-boo, did you just make it to the end of the video? Yes, you did. Do you want to see more videos just like this one? Do you?
Well, then head over to patreon.com/live at the lodge, where you can support the How Good's This podcast, as well as the entire Live at the Lodge family.
Yep, yeah, you're going to get exclusive merch, personalized shout-out videos. Me and Jules, we're going to show up at your house and baptize your nephew, huh? Check it out, patreon.com/live at the lodge.